Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this, my friends, is the Aer Pro Pack Slim 12.5 liter. As the name suggests, this is the smallest and slimmest of a set of 3 new backpacks just released by Aer, the San Francisco-based manufacturer of a dizzying array of bags across active, work, travel, and EDC life use cases as part of their new 2023 Pro line. This Pro line is a new line consisting of this backpack, a larger 20 and 24 liter variant, which I will review in the near future, as well as the new Sling, which I will also review. And these are also a little bit different from the similarly named City Pack Pro, which I recently reviewed on the channel. Now, with that background out of the way, let's talk about this Pro Pack Slim. So, the main claim to fame of this bag is that it is a very compact and slim backpack, kind of almost minimalist in some senses, that can still carry most urban EDC goods, commuter essentials, such as a 16-inch MacBook Pro. This here is a MacBook Air, but it will carry up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. It can carry a tablet, it can carry a tech kit down in here, and it also has moderate levels of organization in this front pocket area here, as well as useful features like an external water bottle pocket, and significantly improved, in my opinion at least, materials, particularly for the back mesh area here. And we'll talk all about this when I get to that section. Now, in terms of areas for improvement, I think there's a couple on here. Probably the one that I would choose to highlight the most is this internal organization. As I described it, this is sort of moderate levels of organization. And that's okay, but I think that besides this main compartment right here, this main compartment right here, the fact that there's only this half size, it only comes down to here, top kind of valet front organizer section, I think means that this bag can get easily overwhelmed with even relatively dialed sets of EDC carry. And when you combine that with the overall slimness of this bag, I found that oftentimes I was stuffing and fighting a little bit of a jumbled mess of things in this front pocket. Not always, but sometimes. I definitely think this backpack could have benefited from maybe one more organizer area, or also maybe a full height secondary compartment. However, there is a reason why they didn't do that, and I'll talk about that in the overall design section when I'm talking about the main compartment here in a second. Anyway, it is, again, obviously a slim pack, so there are choices that we need to make in terms of trade-offs for the slimness. Now, the basic information of this bag, it is available in 3 different colorways. Black, this is obviously the black, an olive, and a navy, and it's going to go on sale, I think, on March 13th, 2023, available at aersf.com. I'll put the link in the description below. Before we go any further, I wanted to just take a moment to thank Aer for sending me this bag for early review. I've been using it as my daily carry kind of office commute bag for a few weeks now, and while this bag was provided to me for review, I want to be clear that the opinions expressed obviously are my own. This video will go live before Aer has a chance to see it, and they won't have a chance to review it or anything until it goes live. And with that out of the way, let's talk about who this bag is for and who this bag is not for. So in terms of who it's for, I mean, it's urban commuters with a relatively dialed in kit who want a sleek, minimalist kind of pretty slim bag. Also for folks who have a pretty dialed kit, but they have a couple of bigger devices. Like I mentioned, this bag will carry a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is quite unusual in a bag of this size. It can also carry even like bigger, bulkier headphones. You can actually fit them down here like those, folding big Sony noise canceling headphones or whatever here. And so if you're a commuter that's got like, pretty dialed kit, you get a couple of bulkier items, but you don't want to move up to a full 24-liter clamshell or whatever, this bag is actually a pretty great choice for you. I also think it's for folks with slightly smaller frames. I'll talk about kind of the visual weight and size of this in the external design section of this review, but I think this works pretty well, obviously for people with smaller frames, for probably most adult women out there, but still looks okay on most, kind of, I would say, average-sized, adult men. Now, in terms of who maybe it's not for, well, if you're packing the kitchen sink and everything, like obviously it's not going to fit inside of this bag here. If you have a bunch of bulky stuff, that's also not going to fit inside of this bag. And finally, as I mentioned, I think that there is fairly limited, or moderate, I wouldn't say limited, but somewhat moderate organization in terms of what's available in this bag. So if you're a person who likes like lots of compartments for everything, you might get, or want a place for everything, or you've got, for example, you want to carry like a couple of extra devices, 2 laptops, maybe 1 in each compartment or whatever, you might find yourself, limited by this bag here. Next, let's talk about maybe the exterior and the design of this bag. The first thing that strikes you, I think, is really the usage of this new material in lieu of like the standard Aer signature ballistic nylon and prominent water guard zipper. So if we look at something like this Aer City Pack Pro that I recently reviewed, and again, despite the naming Pro here, this is a different line than this new Aer Pro series here. You can see the very kind of the traditional Aer look of ballistic Cordura nylon and the kind of single aqua guard zipper that we kind of have come to recognize as Aer's trademark here. Well, that's gone now in favor of this new material, which is, at least in my view, it seems a little bit more professional. Certainly a little bit of a different look. I like the hand feel of this. This is 840D Cordura Recore recycled nylon fabric, which Aer says is Blue Sign approved. Now, overall, I think this is a much more subdued and comparatively more minimalist looking bag as a result of that material and as a result sort of the general design. And while fashion is in the eye of the beholder, for me anyway, I kind of like the way this new design direction in their Pro line is going. I find it kind of interesting. And we'll talk about that too when I review the larger 24-liter brother to this one here. I mean, even like the much more subdued black on black Aer, raised design logo, I kind of like here. Now, looking at the bag overall, as I mentioned, it's not too small, I think, for most average sized adult men to be able to carry. If you're like 185 centimeters, this is going to look pretty small on your backpack. A lot of it is due to the fact that it is a relatively slim bag in this axis as opposed to like the height axis, which kind of lets it wear decently on most people with, quote unquote, an average size, back length. You have this sort of gentle rounding, both in this kind of I guess I would say external circumference, but also in the profile of the bag. It doesn't have like a heavily yoked contour or anything like that, like we saw, for example, in the original City Pack, or we often see like an Evergoods bag. But you do have just sort of a rounding in this dimension. You can see there's a little bit of just rounding due to the way that this corners are stitched in here, some of the seaming here, the shaping here to kind of give it some kind of curvature in this dimension. This is just a bag that I think is sort of like gentle squircles and rounding. And for me, I kind of like that interesting shaping and design that kind of accentuates how slim and small it is without making it unwearable in the y-axis, in terms of height, in my opinion. And I would say the other thing to maybe note is that this bag does not stand up on its own. At least I couldn't find a way of making it stand up on its own. I think it's not that it has a particularly aggressive taper at the bottom. Theoretically, I guess if you put super heavy stuff at the bottom, you could. But even here, I just think it's due to how slim the bag is, and maybe some of that gentle rounding that I mentioned. But the bag, and obviously there's a lot of weight carried in this upper organizer valet pocket area that makes it not being able to stand up on its own. So next, let's talk about the handles and the load carriage on this bag. In terms of handles, it's, other than the backpack straps, it's pretty easy. There's just one. It is the normal thing that we've come to expect from Aer. There's a, a kind of, I guess, nylon webbing cover there. There's a foam kind of core to it. Nothing particularly hard, but it's a foam core. It always sticks up. It's always there. It's not going to hide away. But at least on the black version, the black on black makes it, to my eye, visually kind of disappear a little bit. It's overall fine. It's easy to grab with gloves on because it does have quite a bit of space here. I don't know that you want to carry the bag forever and ever with just this top strap, just because it is a little bit narrow, but it is comfy, and certainly for 12.5 liter bag, it's not usually that heavy. And I also kind of like that it's kind of in the plane of the weight, the center of gravity, so the bag doesn't cant too much when you're picking it up like this. There's no other kind of handles or anything on the side or the bottom of the bag, which is okay because you don't really need it on a bag of this size, in my opinion. So flipping it around, we get to the shoulder straps, which is actually one of the areas where I think there's been a pretty big improvement, or at least evolution, in this new Pro line series of bags. So the first thing to note is that, you know, these have like a very gentle kind of shaping, nothing too crazy or aggressive or ergo. They're not super thick, but they've got a really nice kind of cushion in here with a slightly firmer, it's not quite plasticky, but it is a firmer, denser top layer. It feels like maybe it's two different types of foam as opposed to like a foam with a plastic sheeting or some other hard layer on there, which is perfectly fine in my opinion for a bag of this size, 12.5 liters. It's not going to be that heavy there. Now, what I really like about it is the underside and the mesh that they've chosen to go with. So let's see if we can get this to focus here. This is definitely a different type of mesh than the normal Aer standard. For comparison, we look back at this Aer City Pack Pro that I recently reviewed, and you can see right away, this is the more traditional, kind of more subject to pilling, a little bit rougher kind of air mesh versus this newer one here. This newer one has a more, I would almost say like, silicone-y. That might not be quite right. It doesn't feel artificial. Well, I mean, it doesn't feel not artificial. It doesn't feel artificial in a bad way. It is a little bit smoother. The holes are smaller. It's not as good, in my opinion, as the new Evergoods, or the new Evergoods Air Mesh or whatever that they use on their bag, which for me is probably the best that I've seen in most consumer bags. These are most like bags these days, but I really like the hand feel. This one's definitely an improvement over the previous one, and it slides smoothly over your clothing, and I think it's going to be more robust, although obviously I've only been using this bag for a few weeks, so it's hard to say that for sure. Finishing up with the shoulder straps, or continuing on with the shoulder straps, there's a couple of other new improvements on here as well versus like their normal kind of shoulder strap or whatever. And the first is the inclusion of a sternum strap. Well, obviously Aer has had sternum straps on their shoulder straps before, but it's unusual in many cases to find a sternum strap on a bag of like 12.5 liters. A lot of manufacturers leave it off, feeling it's not necessary for a bag of this size. For myself, I'm squarely like in the sternum strap squad. So like, I love that bags give the option of a sternum strap. They also introduced a new rail system for the sternum strap. As you can see, it kind of, this is obviously not completely new. Like this is used in many other kinds of bags as well, but it's a first for Aer. Usually Aer does something like this type where they have like a strap running across the top of the strap, and then it kind of slides up and down here. Both of them are very effective. For myself, I prefer the rail system on this new bag because what will happen is on these, they kind of like under load, it kind of pulls this strap like this, which I don't like. It's just, I mean, it doesn't affect the usability of the bag, but I just don't like the aesthetics. This one, obviously it doesn't pull on that, but you can still kind of pull the shoulder strap, or sorry, the sternum strap off and put it back on if you don't like it. Beyond that, it has a Fidlock magnetic closing sternum strap buckle, which is great. And then there are integrated rubber strap keepers here, or sorry, stretch strap keepers here if you want. Although for myself, I leave them off because I find that usually when this bag is extended, I don't have too much dangle. You can wear this bag fairly close to the body because it doesn't have a lot of like dimension in this, or I guess like it doesn't protrude out very far from like the center of gravity from your back. I find it benefits well from both, you know, being worn a little bit loose, but you can also tighten it up really, you know, really close to your body by cinching these straps up. Again, you don't get like the ergonomic yoke or anything like that, but it's quite comfortable. And then it makes it quite easy to navigate, I found, through crowded like commuter trains or whatever, you know, streets or whatnot. It's just kind of compact to your body like that. Turning our attention to the back, again, you have that same air mesh that I talked about before, which I really like, feels good on the back. Does a pretty good job of, you know, like absorbing sweat and allowing for some breathability. There is this one center channel here that I think kind of helps a little bit. You don't get that sweaty with a 12.5 liter bag. Also, it's been fairly cold here during the period I was testing this bag, so I haven't had a chance to like really put it through its paces in the summer, but you know, kind of, I believe based off of, you know, both how I've experienced this bag and kind of know about other kinds of materials and such, like I think this will probably hold up pretty decently, and certainly will feel better than the older Aer mesh that I just showed you. There's also a single luggage pass-through here. You can use it, I guess, to pick up the bag if you want. I didn't really use this because I didn't travel with this one overseas or anything like that. But again, based off of similar experience, because the bag is so kind of narrow, it will this will work, you know, decently, I imagine, when you put this on top of a trolley. The only problem is you've got like this dangly strap situation. There's no like affordances to tie those up or anything like that. So next, let's turn our attention to the external pockets, which is pretty simple because there's only one. It is this slim side water bottle pocket, which is a welcome addition because oftentimes bags of this size don't have external water bottle pockets. In typical Aer fashion, it's gusseted, it stretches outward, and it will fit like most normal sized, you know, this is a 473 milliliter clean canteen, a water bottle. It'll fit that in there. You have to kind of wrestle it in a little bit, but you know, as you would expect, this is a pretty small bag. And it kind of protrudes out towards the outside. It doesn't take up too much of the internal volume, which I like. I'll show you here, you can see it actually doesn't intrude too much into the main volume when you've got it in here. So that's always a plus, I think, when it comes to a water bottle. And it does a decent job of holding it securely, like it's fairly deep or whatever. Again, there is some friction in getting this in and out here, but I found the addition of this greatly increased the utility, especially because there's such a limited space inside of the bag itself. So that was a really nice addition, and it, you know, blends away when you're not using it. It's also deep enough that you can throw something like a USB battery or something like that, or maybe like a hand lotion or something that you want to be readily accessible. It wouldn't be the end of the world if like you lost it, but like, you know, you also don't need it to be like super secure or something like that. That's also an option if you're not carrying it. I don't think you could really, I mean, I guess you could carry like a small portable collapsible umbrella in there. Certainly like a tripod or whatever. There's no way to secure it up here, and like the bag, it just isn't big enough for that. So that's it. So that's really it for the external pockets. And now let's turn our attention to the internal pockets, or main compartments as it were, of this bag. So one of the standout features and kind of common across the whole new Pro line is what they're calling their valet pocket, which can be thought of as sort of like, in my opinion, like a deluxe kind of like quick access, quick stash pocket. In the 24-liter variant of this bag, which I forgot to bring to the studio here for recording, but I will show you in the, I will probably put a picture on the screen here, and I will also show you in my review of the 24-liter bag. Like that valet pocket is like a separate pocket up here that works out quite well, like because you've got like the main compartments and you've got this extra like big valet quick stash deluxe kind of pocket on there at the top, and it's got great organization and more functionality than the traditional quick stash pocket. That's great. In the slim pack, which I've got here, however, the valet pocket, at least this is how I'm interpreting it, has, I don't know if they're referring to this specifically as a valet pocket, has a very similar organization to the valet pockets in their in the larger siblings. Like the valet pocket has kind of been moved to the front of the bag and kind of merged with what we might more traditionally expect to be like a front organizer style easy access pockets. So if we look at something like, this is the original Aer City Pack, not the Pro, but the Aer City Pack, you know, you have traditionally in Aer, a lot of their bags will feature like this, you know, front organizer section here. Plus this one has like another pocket in the back there. And this goes full width, by the way, full length, by the way. They'll have this. Or if you look at something like the Aer City Pack Pro, for example, they have both the, they have this kind of front organizer pocket area which has like a big dump space for like, you know, big headphones or something like that in there. The design of the new valet pockets from the rest of the Pro line and sort of merged it with the positioning and the shaping of that front organizer pocket. Now, I'm going to show you what I have in here and kind of talk through kind of the functionality of it and what I think works and what I think maybe could be a point of improvement. So the pocket runs half width. It only comes to here. You can also see like the shaping here. Like this is where it kind of ends. It doesn't have as much dimension in this space as like the Aer City Pack Pro, which had like a, you know, very clear, you could put like big, you can't put like big folded headphones in here. You could fit that in some of the others. in here. It has padding on this front, so it does provide some protection for what you've got inside of here. If you fold it down, you can see you've got a little bit of, very little bit of space in here. You've got like one non-elasticated pocket here, a pen pocket, one stretchy mesh pocket that runs across here. You've got just like a drop-in pocket here, which doesn't have any organization and no real dimensions, kind of flat. And then you have one zippered pocket in here. And on the inside of this one, you have a pocket for your AirTag. And then you've got a key leash in here for your keys. And this is also kind of flat, and I'll talk about what I have in here in a second. So I'll go through here and kind of show you. Normally I carry like my work badge or something like that in here, but here I've got just like a Leatherman because I forgot to bring my work badge for this. In here I've got some chapstick and some hand sanitizer. I've got some headphones, they're Bluetooth headphones, AirPod Pros or whatever those. Pen and a highlighter, and then I've got my Bellroy Apex wallet in here. And then in this flat pocket, I've got a cable for a USB battery, iPhone 14 Pro, it's regular size, and then like a Bellroy all conditions, you know, pocket kind of thing with some cards and stuff like that. And in this zippered pocket, I've got some masks, and then I've got a Anker wireless / wired USB battery thing, and then I've got my keys on the key leash right here. And that's all that I have inside of here. So that's a decent amount of things that I think you can carry in here. For me, the challenge came with kind of how it all works together. So first, let me put my keys and stuff, let me put everything back inside of here, and I'll kind of talk through a couple of the maybe challenges that I felt I had, or maybe areas for opportunity would be a better way of describing it with this section. And you can already see it as I'm kind of loading up this section is it's just a little bit tight, and the access is a little bit frictionful for what I feel is a fairly average set of EDC carry. Like, especially when I had my work, like on a lanyard or whatever, like I just found I was always kind of fighting through to try and get things out of here, or they just seemed to fit a little bit tighter than I would have preferred. So everything fits in here, which is definitely good. It is organized, but for example, this flat pocket, I found it hard to fish out the keys without everything else inside of here coming out. And if you imagine, like, when you get to your house, you swing the bag over your shoulder like this or whatever. Normally, I guess you would swing the bag over your shoulder like this, and then you kind of go like this, and then you're kind of trying to fish out the keys from here. Oftentimes, I found the things would threaten to spill out a lot. And I kind of thought that the placement of that key leash behind two zippered pockets with less, maybe slightly lesser dimension in this area than I would have hoped, made it a little bit more frictionful to get stuff in and out without kind of, you know, things be spilling out than maybe I would have hoped for. The other thing is, as I mentioned, like, I just found like it was a little bit tight and a little bit jumbled in usage here. You can see I have a really slim wallet, this Bellroy Apex wallet. And if you have like a thicker wallet, like the only place you can really put it is where I have this Bellroy All Conditions pocket here. It's not like a ton of space. This is a flat pocket, so it does kind of just sort of sit awkwardly on there. Anyway, this is definitely not unusable. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It just was a little bit maybe tighter and more frictionful than I would have hoped on this bag. And so I thought, like, had there been like maybe, for example, an additional inside mesh pocket here, or maybe this pocket ran the full width of this bag rather than just half. So if you look at, again, something like the original City Pack, it goes all the way down and it has two pockets down here. Like, even that gives you a lot more options for like storing things without it feeling quite so tight. Anyway, I feel like if it had that, it might have been even more a little useful and less frictionful. But again, it's a very slim pack, so those are sort of some of the, I think, trade-offs we need to make for that compactness. The last thing I'll kind of mention about this is there's only one zipper for this area, which makes a lot of sense in my opinion for like a quick stash pocket or like the valet pocket on the 24-liter version or 20-liter version of this bag. On this one, because it kind of is doing double duty, it's sort of like a quick stash valet pocket. Quick stash because, you know, your phone, your keys, and your hand lotion or sorry, your hand sanitizer, whatever, headphones might go in here. And then front organized pockets is front organized pocket. I found sometimes I wish that this had a two-way zipper. On the one hand, it's easy to know where to grab the zipper. On the other, like if it were just up here, two-way zipper like this, you could crack this open and get things out without having to flip the whole pocket open, which again, I think would have helped a little bit with some of the items maybe sometimes falling out when you got the bag kind of, you know, slung over your shoulder. Like if you could just crack it a little bit, it would be, I think, a little bit better at getting things out without them falling out. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about the last pocket here, which is the main compartment. So the main compartment opens asymmetrically because you've got the water bottle on this side. So it only opens this far, where it goes almost all the way to the bottom on this side. And it flips open like this, plenty of access, I think, for what you're gonna be carrying inside of here. So first thing to talk about is there's not too much going on in here. There's nothing on this side, as I already mentioned. This is the front of the bag, inside front of the bag. The one thing that I thought is kind of nice, even though I do wish there was a pocket on the side because it is just smooth, it makes it a lot easier to get down into this wider area, which I'll talk about in a second. So I like that it was a pretty smooth access into here because it's flat, smooth. So laptop compartment suspended off the bottom, holds up to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. I've got in here like an M whatever MacBook Air. There is a little bit of, you can see there is some dimension inside of here, padding here, smooth kind of, you know, felt that's won't scratch your laptop. It's what you see in all the rest of the airbags here. I like that it carries a 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's like I said, it's one of the attractive points of this bag that it can be so compact, but you can still carry like a big laptop if you need to. Now, if your laptop's too thick, it's not going to fit in here, so don't go trying stuff like a Alienware or whatever. Like the laws of physics are still the laws of physics. There is this one kind of like super stretchy, elasticated pocket. I don't quite know why this pocket is so stretchy. It is not padded. You could put like a tablet in there, but again, it's not padded. And I kind of wasn't sure why it was quite as stretchy as it was, but it's good, it's fine. And I think you've seen this pattern on other airbags here. Inside of here, I just have my Bellroy note taker notebook. I've got a hand lotion here. It's because, you know, winter hands get chapped. And then business papers. Man. They're folded into a little B5 notebook, but you could fit like an A4 clear file or whatever in here. Like I said, it's nice that it's kind of big and elasticated. It makes it easy to get stuff in and out. It does also kind of just mean it flops around a little bit, which I thought was sort of interesting. Earlier in this review, I mentioned that there was a reason why this front pocket didn't go all the way to the bottom. And that reason is there actually leaves space at the bottom here for a surprisingly deep, I don't know if you can see, like here, this up to here, you have the front organizer pocket. But once you get past here, it widens up to the full width of the bottom of this bag, like this. Let me show you here, like the kind of just, maybe. All of this widens up. What this means is you can put kind of bulkier things in the bottom of this bag if you need to. So for example, if you wanted to, take something like a wind shell. This is an Arc'teryx Atom SL, and it will fit in the bottom of this bag, and it doesn't like bulge weirdly, right? It fills this bottom here, but then your top, you know, valet pocket kind of, you know, fits up here, sits up there. And I like that. Like you can carry bulkier things while still maintaining the relatively slim profile of this bag, and that's great. Another thing you could carry in there is like folded headphones, like those big bulky noise canceling headphones. Those actually fit really nice in here. I forgot to bring them for this video, but those are things I carried in there. I have Evergood's Civic Access Pouch 1 with like electronics, chargers, and all that stuff. That fits. That drops right nicely in there. I have just a toothbrush, you know, kit or whatever. So you could throw your business papers, man, into your stretch pocket here. Drop the little hand lotion for me, just because that's the one nice part of this kind of overly stretchy pocket, is you can kind of put stuff in there. It keeps it organized. Drop my note taker in here. And you've got like this nice loadout, like where you've got bulkier stuff at the bottom, but the overall profile and silhouette of the bag is still really slim and doesn't protrude or bulge out, which is quite unusual in slimmer bags like this. So anyway, not a ton going on in here, but what is in there is quite functional, and I like that. So anyway, that's kind of it. If you are in the market for a bag like this, what are some other bags that you might want to consider? So obviously there's a 20 liter and 24 liter version of this bag that are less slim, but for people who want to carry more stuff. I'll do a full review of that in the coming, of at least the 24 liter. In the coming weeks, so you can just go and check that out here. If you want something that's kind of like a slimmer bag, like I think the original, this is the original Aer Slim Pack. I don't know if there's a V2, this is the V1 of it. It is also a very similar kind of silhouette. It's not the Pro version. Simpler even, single main compartment, but you can see already there's a little bit of a different kind of layout, full width, kind of flat pocket here. Big dump pouch, much bigger dump pouch here with a key leash, some stretch pockets down here, stretchy pocket. This one doesn't open up, like it's much slimmer than this one. So it definitely can't carry like the bulky stuff at the bottom that this one can. There is like a traditional quick stash pocket at the top, nothing on the outside, no water bottle pockets, but you do get a couple of side handles, and you get this sort of interesting stash mechanism, so you could theoretically carry it like a briefcase or whatever. This might be something worth checking out if you want something even slimmer than this one. Another option is going to be, I don't have it on here, but the Arc'teryx Blade 6 is an interesting kind of similar approach in a very thin kind of like actually very similar kind of like rounded squircle kind of design thing going on. Some interesting curved shape in the front of that one. In general, I found the Blade series to be an intriguing idea that is that's often challenged by like sort of unrefined decisions about which way they want the bag to be oriented and used, and kind of conflicting use cases of like both like travel and then like urban commuting, whatever, EDC. But it is an interesting thing, especially if you're a fan of Arc'teryx, you can check that out there. And I think the last option that I might mention would be something like the Bellroy Melbourne series of bags. This is the larger version of it, but this is the, I don't remember how big this one is, but there is a smaller half-size version of this one that is 12 liters. This is, again, 12.5 liters, so like that's going to be, right around the same size. So imagine this one, but just, kind of smaller and similar size. The Melbourne, I've done a full review of this one, and I'll link that in the description below, has sort of the same kind of asymmetrical thing going on, internal mounted water bottle, a little different stretchy inside pocket, tablet pocket, laptop pocket, and it has kind of interesting kind of magnetic closure thing going on at the top. You have an external water bottle pocket here, and then you've got a quick stash side mounted little stretchy pocket thing going on here. No sternum strap, as I mentioned, often is missing from these kind of bags in here. If you're a fan of Bellroy, it might be worth checking out, though personally I found this top magnetic closure didn't stay closed as securely as I would have liked. And so really that is it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will answer them. And if you have any bags you would like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below, and if I can, I will review them. Thank you very much.